So actually, there was a lot of good stuff in here. I felt pre-flop was pretty solid. I think you made some really good folds, pre-flop and post-flop. There's definitely some things that we could fix for out of position play, and we'll get to those as the hands progress.
Okay.
But yeah, we've got a bunch of different topics that we can discuss here. I think we will start with this ace 10. So it's not on my list, but it is a situation where I would kind of like to know thought process really. So we open ace 10 suited and we get kind of a paired board, and paired boards are kind of an interesting topic because a lot of people have different views on what to do on paired boards. So what's your kind of thoughts as now?
I mean, yeah, obviously in the general distribution, it's not the greatest for me. It's reasonably good for big blind.
Yeah.
In terms of lower numbers and obviously random connectors, etc. But I do also think that ace is regularly going to be a good hand here. I got backdoor hearts, and obviously 2 overs. So as a general rule, I feel like I'm often good here. But if I meet serious pushback, I can't remember what happened, but I'll generally believe it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like your thoughts there. I kind of agree 100% with a lot of the things you said there. I think when we face check raises here, this is a board where the big blind will know they have a lot of trips. Well, not loads, but they're going to have more than you essentially. So
they've got loads of sixes there. Yeah, way more than I do.
It's boards that you have offsuit sixes or offsuit trips are the big drivers. So let's say the board is deuce-four. Sure, in position will not have many deuces, but actually the big blind only defends suited deuces. So maybe ace deuce off, but there's not going to be that many left. When you have offsuit trips, there's like way more combos. So always think of it as who has the offsuit trips rather than just who has trips. Because let's say if the board is 10-10-4, now it's
cutting out a little bit. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's me or you.
Yeah, you sound fine. Let me just restart Discord. I have a bit of an issue with Discord actually recently. I will be back in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully that issue has gone. If it does happen again, you'll just let me know.
Yeah, already. Yeah, it was all good for a bit, and then it suddenly went garbled.
Yeah, that's a lot of like internet connection issues. Does that? But my internet is generally strong, and then Discord just randomly just kind of fucks up a little bit sometimes. So yeah, let me know if that happens again. But hopefully we're all good now.
Yeah, we'll do.
Where did I get up to? Where did you hear me last?
We were just you were talking generally about if it was deuce, they don't have so many, and then obviously moving into, and then I started to get a bit unclear.
Yeah, so if you have like, say it's 10-10-4, you're gonna have king 10 off, ace 10 off, queen 10 off, maybe jack 10 off. So now you actually have a lot of offsuit trips yourself. So not all trip boards are kind of created equal, but these kind of 4 to 9 is generally going to be okay or better for the big blind, unless you're on the button. Because when you're on the button, now your range is wide enough that you open offsuit 8s and offsuit 9s. Yeah, but this is generally also like good aggressive players here are going to know this. So they're going to also attack these boards. So like I think our hand would definitely be too strong to bet fold at this point. You mentioned yourself, you have the backdoor, you have a size pretty good right now. So yeah, I would bet and I wouldn't fold. But yeah, I just agree with a lot of things you said there. So I just wanted to know where you were on this kind of thing.
Yeah, I can't actually remember what I did in that particular hand, but
yeah, it was just a bet, very very simple bet, and the big blind folds. But because it was the first hand, I thought let's have a little bit of a discussion. So we have King Jack coming up on this left one.
I can't see any screens at the moment.
Of course. Not been a great start from me. Poor performance. Alright, so hopefully that's better. So minute.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go to the ace king one. Yeah, 4. All right, here we go. So another c-bet spot.
Ace king.
Yeah, this is
My
where
absolute favourite hand.
So we have big blind defend. So we've got another c-bet spot here. So again, I just wanted to know kind of thoughts on what you would like to see yourself do here.
If I'm honest, I'm always a bit lost with ace king in situations like this, because yeah, I mean, a lot of what you see people do with ace king is they just stack off all the time with it all the time, and it's ludicrous. But equally, it's such a strong hand. It is, again, it's got that thing. It's often going to be leading on this flop, even though we're against the blinds here. 3-8-2 falls obviously square and in their range more than it does mine. Yeah, I don't know. It should be sometimes checking, sometimes betting.
Yeah, so I think this is a good reason why I wanted to talk about this. And we're going to probably jump into more a little bit of c-bet theory as well here. And we're going to talk about kind of different board textures. So this board looks a bit worse for you than it actually is, because if you think about preflop again, they're not really going to have much deuces and threes. So they're going to lean towards unpaired hands. And you have the best unpaired hand. So actually, I think ace king on a dry low board is completely fine to like always value bet, because they need to defend king 10 of hearts, for example, or ace 6 of diamonds and spades and whatever. So they have a lot of hands that you're beating that need to check call. So this hand, the best unpaired hand, a lot of time will just bet for value. When we get towards kind of choosing our bet size, what will happen on low boards, and generally 10 and lower, is we will size up a little bit more often. The in-position player is going to be having a overpair advantage, and you're kind of pushing that with bigger sizes. But also, when we're betting small, it just gives out of position a very easy time to continue with their overcards with backdoor draws, or their weak one pair hands, or their ace highs. So let's say if we had like 9-10 here. It's a really good spot to actually bet big here to get something like queen 10 off the fold, or ace 8 off the fold, that kind of thing. When if we bet small, it's time to continue. So low boards, 10 and lower, essentially, use bigger bets. So whether that's half pot, whether that's 2/3. Some boards you can bet pot on, but we'll keep it simple for now and just say, just bet half pot or like 70%, something in that region.
Okay.
The more connected they are, so let's say it's 8, 6, 7. You have to be a little bit more careful on those boards with a hand like ace king, because now this is a very strong board for the big blind. They're going to have a lot of offsuit 2-pair, but most importantly, they have a lot of combos of straights. So now you need to be a little bit more careful with hands that just aren't strong. You can still bet your overpairs, you can still bet your strong top pairs, but this is a little bit more of a board where you play a little bit more careful, not defense, but just a little bit more aware that their range can be very strong in parts. So this low disconnected, fine to bet ace king. The more connected and low it is, the worse ace king gets. Let's say we have very, very dry ace 7 deuce. What's your kind of strategy there as a general rule in your whole range? Like, we're not worried about ace king, but just a very, very dry. Let's say if it's ace 8-2 rather than 8-3-2.
I would generally put out probably close to min bet, I guess.
Yeah.
Like 2.5.
Yeah, third part range is a really, really great strategy on those types of boards.
I kind of want him to come along.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, but I think on the very, very dry, good board for your range, you have a big range advantage. You can kind of just close your eyes and bet on a lot of boards, and that's generally actually what I saw a lot of you do in most of the hands. I think here though we did only bet small, so this is why I wanted to say I think actually bigger is going to be better. Now, as an exploit, like betting,
so you reckon more in the region of 4.5 there?
Yeah, I don't mind betting ace king as an exploit here because our hand's actually not that strong. But if we had pocket jacks, always bet bigger because your hand is worth more.
Yeah.
I think if we're
And obviously, with jacks, there's so many cards that come over it as well.
You kind of, with jacks, you don't want king queen to call, but with ace king, you want king queen to call. So like your hand wants two different things, so you can bet two different sizes. That's against kind of big blinds who you may feel are good or regulars. They can maybe pick up on this sort of thing, because if I saw a small bet here, my check raise frequency would increase, because I think like your overpairs are not going to use this size. Your strong hands, your ace 8, king 8 are more vulnerable and won't use this size. So now my check raise can increase for value because I can take out your strong hands. So you, against like players that might be thinking maybe you don't want to be as face up with your sizes, but that's probably about 2% of the population at like 50s and lower, to be honest. Like people are just playing their hand strength and not too worried about yours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And what do you want to do now? So obviously we're not in a great spot here.
No. I'm pretty sure at the time I was hating it. I mean, I still feel like it's with this depth and that board, I should still call.
So you folded here, and I actually liked the fold. And this is, again, one of the reasons why I want to talk about this hand. I think the fold is good. I would much rather call hands that have a backdoor flush draw here.
Okay.
So we want to kind of ignore a little bit of raw hand strength and think about how often does my hand improve on turns. So let's say you had king jack of hearts. That's actually going to be a better call than king ace king no backdoor, just because your hand is going to improve more often on turns. You still have the two overcards, but you can turn a flush draw. So when you are facing bets on the turn, you have more options to call.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting that I said I call, but I actually folded.
Yeah, you folded, and I think maybe I kind of led you down a path there with the call.
Yeah, possibly. That's always possible with these. It's always possible with these things, but also, I don't know what he'd been like in obviously he might have also, I don't know, he might not have check raised at any point in the last 30, 40 hands.
Yeah, exactly right. You can have a bit more information. So this is the solve for this, and we've got like two very distinct sizes. We have an overbet, and we have a small bet, and like you can. The way I would generally use boards like this is I'm not going to play two sizes unless I'm doing something really exploitative. I'm going to just use one, and my one is going to be like 70% or so. You can see like ace king bets super often, and even ace queen bets a lot, and then ace jack, it kind of tempers off a little bit. If we do go to the check raise, which is the one that I was kind of more interested in here, and you use like a reasonably large size too, you'll see kind of ace king off folding, and then like queen 9 is the hand that calls more often. So yeah, it's more about kind of turn playability than just raw equity.
Yeah.
So when we're thinking about calling check raises, keep that in mind. I think is a good option. So,
so more than just having the two overs, some kind of suit involvement or straight involvement.
A lot of hands have two overs there, right? So there's still going to be two overs with queen 9, but queen 9 will turn straight draws and flush draws sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Let's just switch these around because somehow these have got turned around. Right, so we are king jack in the left one here. So this is I wanted to talk about this one because we talked about the pocket fives a couple of days ago when we had a small free bet.
Yeah.
And there was another hand later on in the video where we free bet queen 10 off, I think, and we used a small size. So I just wanted to know your kind of thoughts on sizes here.
I think I went relatively small based on his stack size. Obviously, he's only got 22 left behind, and I felt like if he did jam it, then obviously I'm risking a smaller amount.
Yeah.
But if he's only got, I don't know, jack 10 or something along those lines, he's likely going to fold, and five's enough to win it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the way I will structure it, when I'm playing someone with 25 big blinds and lower, if I'm 3-betting on all in, I will use the 5. I would go like 2 to 5. Sorry, he opens 2, I go 5. If he's got 30 big blinds and more, I will then make it 6. Just so it's a little bit harder and it's a little bit more of his stack. to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah.
If he's got 50 big blinds, I will probably make it 6.5 or 7.
Yeah.
And if I'm out of position, I will, if he raised 2 and we're out of position, I think as a minimum I would make it 7. And then if we're deep, like 40 big blinds and plus, I would make it 8. And if we're very, very deep, I'd make it 10. So I think you're right here to go 5, but there was a spot later on where we were 60 big blinds deep and we were in position and we made it like 5.2.
Okay.
So just be aware, like we've just given people pretty good prices. So I'd just be a little bit more dynamic with your size rather than stick to one. All right, so the next hand is one of my favorite things to do with students, particularly newer students. I don't think it's this one actually. It's on this side. 6. Yeah, here we go. So we're going to have a quiz here. This is why it's my favorite thing to do with students. So we have a player who's shoved from mid position with 8 blinds. Now, our hand is obviously a call, but I want you to give me a range of hands that you would also call here. So this is one of the most important spots in no limit tournaments, because this happens all the time, right? You're facing short stack shoves or you're a short stack yourself. Getting this right is where a lot of EV comes from, because if you are short yourself, you don't want to miss clear shove spots or clear call spots, because you need to scrape every EV you can find. And obviously when you're calling off, you need to be sharp too when you're deeper. Yeah,
I mean, this is one of the most annoying situations, because I'm actually sitting there doing a right 40 plus bigs, and stacks like that, and like I know it should be relatively wide, but it's super annoying when you lose 2 or 3 of them in a row and suddenly you're the short stack, and you haven't really done anything wrong. It's kind of it's an annoying situation.
And that's the dumb things about tournaments, is you can do nothing wrong and then still bust.
Yep, absolutely. Which is what I feel like is happening every time at the moment. But
this is like gold then, and I think like even if we do say lose 2 in a row here and we go down to 20, when we've studied 20 big blind play, when we've studied shove fold, when we've studied free bets jam spots, like that's also money in your pocket, because you need to be the one that's like, okay, I've lost this, but I've studied 20 big blinds, I'm very comfortable at this stack there, I can get myself back out there, like, and that's fine. So I'll give you the easy ones.
Yeah, obviously.
And then you tell me where you would go from here. If you go anywhere.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, 8 bigs. Okay. I think King Jack suited, King 10 suited would be fine. Queen Jack suited. King Jack off.
Yep.
Ace 10 off. And then depending on who it was, there might be a couple of others get filled in. Queen Jack off might get if he's been particularly, and the same suited obviously. Queen 9 and it's Queen 10. So I'm trying to see this.
Yeah, it is small. I can't make this no bigger. It's really annoying.
Yeah.
I don't know why they've done that in this program. It's an old one though.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's probably about it. But based on the player, there might be a few extras. Maybe a slightly lower suited ace.
Yeah. So I would say this is probably the area that you want to be adding in a little bit more. We probably need some pairs, maybe 4s, maybe like this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, any suited ace. I mean, he's going to do it with King Queen, King Jack.
Yeah, that's
King
something
10.
you need to think about when we are facing these short stack shoves, is if they've got like those King 10s and stuff, which they will have a lot more often at 8, just having an ace and beating them is good enough. So let's have a look. So we go to multi-size, we'll do single size, 8 blinds, because we have a little bit of a bigger stack, so yeah, this will do. Doesn't have to be perfect. So this is the shoving range. So you can see like any pairs going in, all the broadways, even the suited 9s. So let's go and have a look. So yeah, I think the only spots we need to be adding in is probably maybe some offsuit aces, and some of these pairs are probably doing a little bit better than we might think.
Yeah.
But in decent areas, I think you was pretty good there. Yeah, like I said, just these and these.
Yeah, a couple of offsuit ones.
Yeah.
Down to mid. Yeah.
So what we're going to change now is whenever we see spots like this and we're studying, we don't just go, okay, our job's done now. You want to change a few variables around. So what if the button is shoved 8 big blinds? What do you call them? So we have this as a starting point, right? Because we know the button can now shove wider because they're the button. So obviously we can call wider because we're facing a wider range. So where do you think it might expand to? So this is kind of what we had previously.
Yeah. I mean, getting close to any ace. And then, down a little bit more on the king. So maybe king 10 off, and and definitely down in the suited kings. A couple more suited queens. Yeah.
Something like
that. Something like that. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Let's have a look. I think you're pretty good there. I think there's maybe we can add in like.
I mean, I don't know whether there's things like some suited connectors also start creeping in.
Yeah, so good comment actually. So this is the shoving range from the button. Very, 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 very wide. 10-6 suited. I think a lot of people actually don't find these hands here.
No.
So shoving range is going to be a little bit tighter, but yeah, we'll have a look at our range.
Do you know what those 10-6 ones are the ones I dread at the moment, because I flip over like ace 3 and they put 10-6 and I just walk away and know I'm losing it. 100%.
Yeah, you
there'll be a 6 in the window and I'll swear and walk off, and that's like fucking.
When you see stuff like that, I think you kind of just feel it, right? You see the hands turn over and you just know you're not going to win.
Absolutely.
The most annoying spot for me in all of kind of poker is like this guy 3-bets, this guy I 3-bet, this guy opens, I 3-bet ace king, and then the big blind shoves pocket 2s here for 50 bigs, and obviously I call ace king and I lose. And like this shove with deuces runs into the only hand that does well against me, and they're kind of shit against my range, and you just know you're not winning that flip.
You're done. And you might as well give up now. Yeah. So annoying.
All right, so this is the calling range. Again, I think we're pretty good here. We're a little bit tighter in some spots, but there's some of the better suited hands. Needs to be in there, and the offsuit kings. It's a little bit
any suited king is interesting.
Actually, I didn't notice that myself. Yeah, and if we look at the EVs are pretty good. So this all will come back to the shoving range. We mentioned it real briefly with the ace is just beating the king. The king here is just beating all the queens, all the jacks, all the 10s, all the 9s. So really good spot, and I think very, very overfolded. So these are spots that when you are the 8 big blind shover here, really making sure we're never really missing too many shoves if we think the big blind's going to fold too much, because we can just pick up free money then. So these are spots where I study relentlessly and make sure I'm as sharp as possible in, because they just happen so much. And anything that happens, I always tell students, you want to study things that happen regularly and study things that are expensive to get wrong. And generally the second one is ICM mistakes. But these are spots that are they're really, really, really important.
Okay, well, that's something for me to look at.
Yeah, and I think whenever you have a situation like this king queen, the king queen's a call, but what if you didn't have king queen? What if you had queen 9? Just be curious. Ask yourself, take a screenshot of it. Maybe I'll have a look at it when you get a chance. And what if I had this hand? What if he had 10 big blinds? What if it was the button, etc., etc.
That's a good shot.
7-8 suited is the next one, and it's a multi-way hand. Which multi-way are difficult, and I think while there is solvers that are telling us kind of the perfect play, if the button here is not playing like the solver, the solve breaks down and it's useless. So it's still a little bit of Wild West in multi-way pots. I think most people probably don't bet enough on flops for protection and stuff like that. General rule is like if you're the early position player and you're in position against two guys, so generally the blinds are calling, you can bet very, very often because your range is so strong and they're a little bit more capped and wider. If you're out of position against two players, this is where you play a lot of heavy checks because you need to see what the other two players do, and you play a lot of kind of trappy check raise game. And then if you're out of position against one guy like you are here, it's a little bit more in between. So this hand is definitely going to be a check because it's a board where there's a lot of connectivity for the in-position caller. They're going to have a lot of draws, so you end up like betting and then checking the turn, and it just gets a little bit awkward, and it's just very, very difficult to play. So you do check the flop, and it gets checked around, and we turn two pair.
Yeah, which is one of those two pair that you wish you didn't have.
I like the way that you kind of phrased that. So what's your thoughts here then?
I think I can remember this hand, and I remember thinking. I remember just thinking this is the kind of hand where you get stacked. And I wasn't comfortable. I can't remember what I did now, but
I like your call.
I mean, having gone check previously, I don't really feel like I don't feel like he's got it made.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, there's tons of cards I don't want to see in the river.
Yeah,
absolutely tons of them. Like spade, 9, jack, 10 or a queen. I know. There's tons of stuff.
So I completely agree with you here. The one piece of information you didn't add there was his bet size. So I think if he bets 5 or 6 blinds here, our hand is completely different to if he bets 2.4. Mm-hmm. Because he's also thinking the same as you, right? There's a lot of cards I don't want to see there. So let's say he does have Queen 7, Queen 10. Is he going to bet 2.4 or is he going to bet 6?
True, yeah.
So once we think that, okay, maybe his range is a little bit weaker, now actually I don't mind value raising here as you did. But the piece of information that's really key is his bet size. If he bets 6 here, I'm never raising because he can just have a ton of strong hands.
Yeah.
So I think your intuition is right.
But you're still just going to call, right?
Yeah, I would just call. I'm never going anywhere. I'm not calling. But I think your intuition was right. But just add that little bit of extra detail. And kind of just make for a little bit better decisions. But I think your
I'm not sure if I thought that at the time or not, or whether that was. It was more obviously like I'm sort of when I raise there. I think I'm thinking I'm either winning it here, or I'm maybe even finished with the hand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, so like I think if we raise and he shoves, we definitely fold. So I think if that's what he was going for.
Yeah, I mean, if he re-raises me there, I mean, the only thing about the 2.4 is it's either he hasn't got much and he's just trying to find out where he is, or he's really strong and just wants to start getting something going because we all check. He was hoping we'd bet on the flop.
I think that kind of thought, you want to think about what's most likely, not what's worst case here. So, like, there's way more combos of Queen X that wants to just see a cheap river, or a draw that wants to see a cheap river, than like Jack 9 of club or Jack 9 of spades here, which is kind of the ultra nuts. So, what's most likely? We worry about that rather than what's like the worst case thing.
That is one of the struggles, getting my brain to think about not the worst thing.
I'd probably tell that to every student I have, honestly, because people are like, well, if I bet him and he raises, I'm struggling, so I'm just going to check. Well, what if he's going to raise it? It might happen 5% of the time. He's going to call or fold the rest of it. So you want to worry about the rest of it, not the tiny percentage of the time he might raise.
Yeah, and the plus side is if he does raise, I know now.
Yeah,
and not on the river.
Exactly right. Yeah, you also get a little bit of information out of him that way too.
Yeah.
So yeah, completely agree. All right, so this one's not that interesting. I think we can leave this one actually. Left 26. This one is interesting, and I felt that this is one of the hands where we put a little bit too much money in out of position.
Okay.
So we defend the big blinds against I play cash, who looks like he's won a scoop. So yeah, maybe he is a little bit better than your average player.
Yep.
We check, he bets small, and we go for a raise here. So I was just curious in your thoughts about this one.
Again, I think it's almost as much about information as it is anything else. Like middle pair, out of position, don't necessarily really want to continue. I don't really want to just do call, check, call kind of thing. I think the idea of that would be just to find out now where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. So
and nothing more complicated than that, as far as I can remember.
So if he calls here, what's your thoughts? So you want to raise to find out where you're at, but if he calls, where do you think you're at?
I think probably good. I think I'm probably ahead.
Mm-hmm. So he cannot have like a queen here if he calls though. Like
yeah, he could do definitely, yeah.
Because I think here, where we've raised, I think we end up in a big pot with a hand that's just not that strong, and then it's just really hard to play turns because like he can call draws here, like any 9, 10, jack, turn or river is kind of not great for you. An ace isn't great for you. So we're kind of just, I think like this is a spot where I would just check call.
Yeah, that's true.
See what happens on the turn. Because if we just check call, the pot's going to be like 8, 10 big blinds, let's say. Or not even 10, right? It's going to be a little bit less. He doesn't have to always bet the turn. Sometimes he checks. Sometimes he will bet small and you have a decision to probably an easy decision to check call.
I'm guessing often if I raise him here and then he calls and then I check the turn, I mean it's kind of, it basically looks like I'm have given up on whatever I had planned.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happens here. It's like, well, now the pot is so big, his stack is less than pot here. Like, can we shoot for value? Probably not. Can we bet small and get some value? Maybe, but then we're also just building an even bigger pot with a weaker hand. And we're checking and like we allow his draws to realise equity. He can jack 9-10, jack 10 just to realise and try and get there. So yeah, we just make our decisions really difficult here because the pot's really big and our hand's just not strong enough.
Yeah.
And I think generally when we're out of position, when we're raising, we just want more equity. We want to be a little bit more polarized. So we're going to raise our draws or we're going to raise good queens to stack off. Because being out of position sucks. Like you just don't want to be in situations where you have weak ranges in big pots. And we're going to see this a little bit with some out of position c-bet stuff as well.
Okay.
So when we want to get a bit of information, sometimes like we just want to keep the pot small and keep the pot. What pot size is our hand worth? And like good second pair is a pretty good hand on this board. So it's probably worth calling 1 bet at least, maybe 2, but probably no more than that.
Yeah.
And like if we call we've put in like almost 3 times more money here than we need to do. And I think we're just building pots with weak ranges. It's not something that's going to generate a lot of EV, and it just makes our life really tough.
It's actually one of the better turn cards as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of the better turns, and now we get like one of the bad rivers. This is also
one of the worst. Yeah.
Maybe we could bet small against something, but like again, did we ever get something like Jack 8 to call?
Did we both check the turn?
Yes, the turn went check.
Yeah.
And now we're in a situation where like maybe we can bet for some very thin value, but that again feels very thin. We can't. You
start believing again at this point. So but the thing is, if I bet, what am I going to bet? 4 or 5?
Yeah.
I mean, if he shoves, then I'm not. I can't call that. So
yeah, exactly. So like we kind of have to check, and then obviously we get shoved on, and now again we're like.
Which he should be shoving with nearly everything after what I've done.
Yeah, I mean, your range is extremely weak at this point. You've not bet twice after check raising.
I check raised him, then check. I mean,
so he can.
What have I got that's strong?
And also, like, what bluffs does he have in his range now on this 9? Like 5, 6 gets there. Jack 10, 9, 10. Jack 9 makes a pair.
Yeah.
He probably just has
Queen still got top pair. So
Queen's doing like maybe he even bluffs a 7 at this point, which sounds crazy, but like this is kind of maybe he bluffs like King Jack of Spades. But there's not many bluffs here, so his range becomes really strong. and we've just built a pot here where we didn't need to be putting in so much.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, let's say we had Queen 10, Queen Jack. I think that's probably Queen Jack. I would just check raise and try and get it in, just because he's, you know, we don't start the pot with that many big blinds. So like a good queen is just good enough to stack off here. But this hand, yeah, call one, see what happens on the turn. If you get, because it's not always betting the turn. Sometimes you're going to see a river for very, very cheap as well. Sometimes you improve to a king or an 8.
Yeah.
So just think about how big a pot your hand wants to play. Is actually a good rule of thumb. Like it sounds very, very simplistic, but you know, does my hand want to raise and play a big pot? Not really. Let's keep it small, and that's kind of a good simplification, I think.
Yeah, it's a good one just to keep. It's easy just to say to yourself during the game. Yeah.
So 23, right? Ace 5 suited. So this is a little bit pre-flop, a little bit post. So thoughts on this hand here. So we have an under the gun open for min raise, and we are in the next seat. So how do you kind of figure out, or which hands do you call, which hands do you 3-bet?
Pass. I don't know how I do that.
Good. So it's a good job this hand comes up. So this is interesting because under the gun versus under the gun, a lot of hands just don't call as a pure frequency because it's just, you just cap your range and everyone behind can 3-bet you, and you're kind of screwed. So a lot of hands just do a little bit of 3-betting and a little bit of call each. The way you want to think about it is my hand on the edge of my calling range? So let's say you had ace 5 here. Would you always call it? No. So that means you can 3-bet sometimes. Same with a hand like ace 9 suited. Ace 10 suited doesn't do that great here. Like if you can 3-bet and get ace jack off the fold, great news for you.
Yeah.
So wherever hands are the bottom of your calling range, they make good 3-bet candidates. And that will transfer across every sort of situation pre-flop. So let's say you're cut off versus button, ask yourself the same thing. Is this the bottom of my calling range? If so, you can 3-bet that hand. So we'll start with...
Yeah, it makes sense.
So you see the 3 hands that call them like only are these hands here. So the reason for that is they don't get many better hands to fold, but they don't get any better hands to fold because ace king is never folding, so there's no point in 3-betting ace queen suited and king queen suited, and ace queen generally won't fold, so ace jack suited doesn't 3-bet. But because they're suited, they can also call 3-bets, whereas ace queen off is much harder if you call and then you get squeezed behind to flat. So this will just fold. So this is why this 3-bets. You can see like a lot of just 3-betting here. And I think generally 3-betting is my preferred option because players behind don't 4-bet that much, or that as much as they should. And then
if they do, that obviously, again, it's fairly obvious what kind of range they're doing it with. Right?
Yeah, it's going to be a strong range
for the most part, anyway. Obviously, at this level.
And I think it's true up to most levels. In all fairness, like people are just not very comfortable 3-betting under the gun versus under the gun. But you see, like a lot of hands here that like look like clear calls. King Jack suited, it's perfectly fine to be aggressive with. Ace 5 suited is a hand we don't fold, but I think I would prefer just to 3-bet it because you can get a lot of better hands to fold. And if you get called, it plays perfectly well post flop.
And I'm in position if it's only that guy.
And you're in position, exactly right. And this is situations where I would like to 3-bet a bit more aggressive than a solver. Let's just move it round to the cutoff. And kind of just demonstrating what I was saying, like bottom hands of your calling range are going to be 3-bets. So these offsuit stuff, these like high-low suited stuff, and then this middling stuff that like, because you're against the cutoff, it's actually a little bit stronger now, so you don't mind flattening it, and your 3-bets just get a little bit worse. And that will be the trend around the table. Like your 3-bets get a little bit worse because you're facing a weaker range.
Yeah.
So we do call. Not this one. There we go. And actually one of the other players around the table, I think it's this player here. Yeah. And then we go 3-way, post flop, and we get king 7, 5. and it's checked at us. So what's your thoughts?
I thought, yeah, I don't know. I mean, my thoughts now is I should be checking it, but whether I do that or not, I don't know. But I mean, yeah, I don't really know.
Yeah, you do bet, and I don't actually mind betting here. So this is a situation in game you can ask yourself, okay, is there hands that I would like to fold out that are just going to fold out? So something like Jack 10, right? It's got overcards to you, can improve on the turn a lot, can bluff you off. You don't mind betting, getting this guy to fold those types of hands, or this guy to fold those types of hands. Or let's say pocket sixes you can maybe get to fold out or something like that. So you can bet here, betting's fine. You also have an overcard to the king, so like 2 pair outs are always clean, or no 2 pairs are really on this board. But you can bet here. I think betting's fine. But I think what we don't want to do is just bet more than like a quarter or a third pot. I think we go for like 4 or 5 here. And I think, like, similarly to the king...
I'm guessing that'd be... My thoughts with the sizing would be there's 2 people involved. I know, obviously, the under the gun guy is already checked. So, but, like, 2 people involved, and I'm out of position to one of them, so...
Yeah, and I think that thought actually helps to bet small, because you can attack 2 ranges for a small size rather than 1. And one guy also has to worry about the other guy. So, like, this guy here can't just peel can't just peel ace jack with a jack of hearts, because this guy can have a check raising range. So you can kind of attack these ranges for a smaller size, because they have to worry about each other. And if you can get jack 10 off here to fold, and 8-10 off from this guy to fold, or 8-10 suited from this guy to fold, you've achieved a lot there. You folded out 8 outs, 10 outs, something like that. Maybe not that much. But for a very, very small size, and it's just very, very cost effective.
Yeah.
But again, like, when we bet big here and we get called, we've got kind of just strengthening ranges and we're out of position. We get called in 2 spots here, which now it's obviously we just shut it down. But yeah, this is
unless I'm hitting something on the turn, then I'm basically not interested.
We could have also had that thought process and put in like half as much money.
Yeah.
You know, if we don't improve on the turn, we can just shut it down, or maybe we could turn a hand into a bluff sometimes, but whatever. Yeah, I think generally out of position, just be a little bit careful putting in like 60-70% pot bets when we can just achieve something similar, 30%.
Yeah, so actually that's just another example of exactly the same.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about those hands. Yeah. I think there is another one later on too, which we will get into before we finish. There's another example.
Interesting that the under the gun had kings there as well. He was just keeping it slow.
Yeah, I think his play's okay, right? Because if he starts the bet here with like one of the worst kings he might open, and like gets called again, he's building a pot with a king that's actually not comfortable betting 3 streets. So he's kind of playing like, I don't want to really build this pot up to be massive. I want to give my opponent an opportunity to bluff like this. But then if the board texture changes and gets ugly, I can get out of the way and I'm not costing myself too many chips.
Yeah. Yeah, fair.
Jack 10 off, 28. Right, so we are going to do another quiz here. So we open Jack 10 off here, which I think is a great open. And the big blind will eventually show up for 17-ish blinds.
Yeah.
So what do you want to call here? Nope.
That's a really good question.
Let's just rewind that a little bit so we can get the stack size on that close. There we go, 17.5. So again, put the...
I mean, obviously all of the obvious, I mean...
Sixes.
I think... Yeah, I think I'd probably go lower on the pairs as well. I might even go down to 5s or 4s. You know, I am the button. It's folded around to me. It's quite an obvious place to stick in a raise.
King Queen off will get in there as well. We can add that in straight away.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go down suited aces down to probably. What's he doing? He's doing that against. Might be even all of them. And then kings down to like, I don't know, nines, eights, nines.
Yeah, sure.
And then probably queen jack.
Sure, I like it.
I don't think I'm going to call queen 10 suited. Maybe it might obviously depend on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, and that's probably not far off. Jack 10 suited as well, maybe.
So we'll go to we'll go single size, give the big blind. 17. So this is the shoving range. So I think one thing that's really interesting when we're facing the big blinds is a lot of hands are just very natural hands to call. So earlier we saw shoves with like king 9 suited. Now that just makes a lot of money in the call line in the big blind. So we're facing a bit more of a polarized range.
Mm-hmm.
These aces are not in there. They will call though. So you are absolutely spot on with the aces. We're a little bit tight on the offsuit aces, but everything else looks pretty good. Like these fours were showing pretty. They would definitely be in there. So yeah, it looks pretty good. You know, we've done what? Say this is our third one. The first one I think we're a little bit too tight. Second one just a little bit less tight, but a little bit tight. And this one looks pretty good, right? So you've done 3 of these.
Yeah.
Your knowledge has improved like drastically already. So can you imagine if you've done 10 and then you do 10 the week after? Like you don't need to do loads, but then you just get a good feel for what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, like I said, these are a lot of fun with students because it's amazing. Like you do one and they kind of get it wrong, but by the time you get to the 5th one, they're so much sharper. And it's just an eye-opening what like just a little bit of study can help you with.
Yeah, sure, absolutely, yeah, definitely. I feel like I need to probably pay for GTO Wizard at some point. Yeah,
I mean GTO Wizard is super expensive, so
it is expensive.
I wouldn't be. I mean, we've just done a quiz, so we're not going to worry about this one. We'll move on to another one. Yeah, King 4 is the next hand on this right table. So blind versus blind. How's your blind versus blind play?
Probably poor, but I'd say I'd struggle with the small blind way more than the big blind.
Yeah,
I find the small blind really a very confusing position.
Yeah, good news
and
is
I often feel lost.
The good news is a lot of people are the same.
Yeah.
Small blind's obviously going to be tougher because of the out of positionness of it. In tournament poker, because there is antes and we've played the rake already, we get to play really loose in small blind, but we can just limp a lot. We're just trying to see flops are very, very cheap. Let's say we're playing cash games, we're playing a live cash game, there's no antes, and we play a rake every time we hit the flop. So we're kind of not incentivized to see flops. So this hand, we can just limp. And we actually limp very, very, very loose in a small blind. Blind versus blind is really, really complex because 20 big blinds plays different to 10, which plays different to 40, which plays different to 60, which plays different to 100. You know, we have limp shoves, we have limp 3-bets, we have limp all-ins, we have raises, not all-ins, we have open shoves. So it's very complex. So we don't need to worry about going into it in too much detail. But general rule is we can just see flops. And we can do that by limping. So we'll go to like, I think we're at 20 here, so we can just use 20 as a start off point. So we kind of only fold 15% of our hands. And we can limp, but when we do face a raise, we are just going to we start to fold quite a lot.
Yeah. So
there's nothing wrong with limp folding a lot of hands here, but what will happen in the big blinds, a lot of big blinds just don't play aggressively enough with this sort of range here. So limping becomes more profitable because you're not going to face a raise as often. So try not to be too tight as the out of position player in these sorts of scenarios. We kind of jam ace-x off from 20 big blinds and less. These are hands that don't really play that great when we're shallow. because they just miss flops when they're offsuit, and then they're hard to play. But if we're shoving ace, we can get called by king 10. So there's a little bit of value in there too. So as a general rule, we play quite loose. We limp a lot. We can shove ace-x off from 20 big blinds and the low pairs as well. But this is a situation that, like, it's so complex. You could do like 2-3 hours minimum on this and just scratch the surface. So it is a situation. Give yourself a little bit of leeway, but general rule is just don't be tight. Try and see flops. Stab a lot as the big blind because people check fold too much.
I think I'm incredibly tight in this small blind. If I'm honest, I think I think I avoid it just because I make so many errors here.
Yeah, and you used to play a lot of live, didn't you? Was it live cash or live tournaments?
Tournaments.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I thought maybe it was because of live cash we were just.
No, I've never really played a lot of cash.
Oh, okay.
I have here and there, but not like a huge amount. No.
Yeah, so you can just be loose, and it is fine to just check fold after limping, just trying to see a sneaky flop.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously we don't have a great deal of time, particularly now, and there's a couple of hands I want to get through. But yeah, king 4, just pause the video here, I suppose, and just have a look at kind of what we're doing with certain hand classes. Kind of a little trick to remember, like which hands we raise. We're raising hands that are the bottom of our limp call range. So keep an eye on like this sort of region here. And this sort of region here. When we do limp, these are the hands that are like making a little bit of money, limp calling. So like it's the bottom, right? Anything weaker than this we're folding. So these hands are like too good to fold. You don't want to limp, fold. Raising sometimes makes a little bit of money. So this is kind of your bluffs pre-flop. If you're kind of uncomfortable raising like a jack-7 off, because it is a shit hand, maybe then just focus on the suited hands.
On the suited side, yeah.
Yeah, because they're going to flop a bit better, so they're easier to play. And then once you get comfortable, you can kind of add these in. But we want to be raising polarized in the small blind when we're shallow because of the threat of getting shoved on. So we want to have hands we're very easy to call or very easy to fold. So let's say Queen 9 suited at 20 bigs. If you raise here and you get shoved on, you kind of hate life because it's not quite good enough to call. So this just limps. It will just limp and limp call. So a lot of the better suited hands limp and limp call, and we raise polarized. And then like this Queen 3, if you can see a cheap flop, it makes money. But other than that, you can just fold it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tricky. Studying blind versus blind, I would say just study the short stacks first if you're going to look into it. But yeah, give yourself a little bit of time because this stuff is difficult.
Okay.
King 4, Queen 10, King 10. I don't quite remember these ones. Let's have a look to refresh. Ah, yes, the Queen 10 is one we touched on briefly earlier, where we were 3-betting a little bit too small. So,
okay.
Seems to maybe let's refresh it. There we go, we're back. So this is the Queen 10. So we're like 40 big blinds deep here. So I wanted to talk about the hand class as well here. When we're facing the early positions, this hand is just a bit too weak to 3-bet. We would rather have like an ace-10 off or a king-jack off. Even king-queen off is okay to 3-bet here. I think queen-10 off is just a little bit too weak. We can 3-bet like king-8 suited, king-7, queen-9 suited, queen-8 suited. These are hands that I kind of want to play. I wouldn't call all the time. Queen 10 against under the gun, I would just fold. Yeah. And this is a 3-bet I would make against the later positions rather than the earlier positions.
Sure. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, we kind of use the small size again, so that's why I wanted to just talk about the king jack at the very, very start as well. This I would just go to 6 and make it a little bit more difficult for this guy.
So if I am going to raise, make it bigger, but
just make
probably
it 6.
not
like,
raise.
It's a
probably not one in the first place.
Yeah, not raised in the first place. It's a very small thing. It's 6, but this is like I didn't want to get for me, if I see like this size, I'm going to attack this size because I just think that it's kind of it's a size that's designed to get certain hands to fold, but you don't actually use this size for value. So let's say if you've got ace king here, is a prime example. I think people subconsciously use bigger sizes of ace king because they want to get it in pre more often. So you use a bigger size to slide in pre, or they don't want to see bad flops and allow 9-10 suited to just hit a flop for cheap. So I think subconsciously ace king goes to like 6.5. But bluffs are just designed to be cost effective. I will raise. You mentioned it earlier. Like if he's got jack 10 off, he's just going to fold. This is kind of a size that's designed for that. So I will go after this size a little bit more than I will go after 6. Now I'm not saying this is what this person is doing because he's just like he's got a hand. But subconsciously, I think this is like a little bit of a sizing tell. But yeah, people probably don't pick up on it, but I certainly would. I think. King 10. Let's have a look at this one. Yes, interesting one. This. So we use a big bet on a flop here, which I think is actually fine. Generally, like you can kind of bet small with your range here, but when we have a strong hand, I don't mind using a bigger size and just forcing.
I was probably thinking, obviously, make spades pay.
Yeah, exactly right. There's a lot of draws on this board. I think as well, like it's very less likely the big blind is going to just stop to check raise like a king 6 here, for example, just because the board looks a bit scary and it's a bit better for you. So if they're going to check raise less, you want to put more money in because it's your job to build pots with strong hands now. So he calls, and we get the deuce of diamonds. And now, what do you want to see yourself do?
I think I'd continue to bet. I mean, only a call. I mean, you could have so many draws.
Yeah.
I should bet again.
Yeah, 100%. And you went for a check here, and I was quite surprised at that. And
oh, did I?
Yeah, I think as you mentioned,
I'm quite surprised. I'm quite surprised at that.
There is a lot of draws here because it's now a double flush draw, but also because there's a lot of draws, it will mean that they see draws in your range and then they might bluff catch wider. So you get a lot of value from not just the draws, but for them thinking you've got a draw. So I think betting here is definitely going to be the play, and I think like pretty big as well.
Don't like the queen very much there, so I'm guessing I call on the end here. Well,
yeah,
I hope I call on the end here.
The queen's not great, but like there's plenty of missed draws in this guy's range.
Yeah.
However, if we also look at his bet size, the queen isn't great, but he's bet half pot. Is he going to bet half pot with a queen? Or is he going to bet bigger with a queen? How much is a queen worth?
You think he'd want kings to pay him off?
Right, yeah. So there is a couple of spots where I think people have told us their hand strength with their bet size here. The 7-8 suited when we raised, and this one, like be very, very dynamic and very flexible given certain bet sizes. As a general rule, small is going to be weaker than big. People like to get value with their strong hands and they bet bigger. People like to bluff cost effectively. Like this guy here is in the classic half pot bet as out of position on the river. So this is a bet that is, I don't want to bet too small and get called, and I don't want to bet too big and get called. So I'll bet somewhere in the middle and just try and get a bit more fold equity. This half pot bet is massively over bluffed, and I'm never folding to half pots on rivers out in position.
Okay.
It's incredible how over bluffed this sizing is. And I'm someone who is very, very flexible to sizes. So yeah, always be thinking about what story is my opponent trying to tell us. And that bet size is the story.
Half pot bet on the river.
Yeah, it's bullshit, right? Because let's say if he's betting a king, well, let's say if he's betting a queen, he bets bigger. If he's betting a king, maybe he bets smaller. If he's bluffing, he's like, well, I don't want to bet too small and induce a call. And I don't want to bet too big and risk losing more chips. So I'll bet somewhere in between. And that's what people's thought process is.
It does make it kind of makes sense in a weird kind of way, but yes, it obviously less likely to work. Yeah, go ahead.
So last one,
it's quite an easy one to remember as well.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Like when you see it a lot, and you kind of you just call it off, and it's very satisfying because you just. Another one falls into that trap and you just pick it off. It's great.
Yeah.
All right. So last hand is going to be a pocket 8. I think it's this one coming up. No, it's not. interesting. Okay, maybe I've got the wrong table note there, which is possible. Yeah, here it is. So we open 8s in the mid position and the button calls. We're pretty deep here. Queen 9-6. So kind of a board where it's not terrible for you. You're going to have offsuit queens, but the board is quite dynamic. You know, any king, jack, 10, spade, even the 7 and an 8 can fill some straights in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So this is a board where like you might play a little bit more defense rather than looking to pile money in because the board texture is going to shift. So this, we kind of bet 4 big blinds here, and again I think this is just a spot where when we bet here, we just strengthen the calling range quite a lot, and we're in a spot where our hand just very, very rarely improves, and then we end up checking turns again. So I think this is a situation where I'm going to be a bit more polarized when I bet. If I'm going to bet like my good queens and better, then I'm going to use 4. Maybe if I'm going to bet like jacks and 10, maybe I'd use a small size because I want a 9 to stick around. But jacks and 10s also will improve to straight draws a little bit more often. They turn open-enders more often. I think 8 is just a little bit too weak, and you just end up checking too many turns in bigger pots. Similarly to the king 8, similarly to the ace 5, right? This is like, there was just 3 hands that were kind of a similar pattern, where we're just putting in a bit too much money with weak hands out of position.
So it'd be more of a min bet for you, like 2.5 or something.
Yeah, so I think the way I would play it is my king, queen, ace, queen, queen, jack, queen, 10, kings and aces I would use 4 with, and then my strong draws. When you're out of position and you're betting draws, you want more equity because you're out of position. So my flush draws and straight draws. If I'm using a small size, it will be about 3rd pot, but that would generally be for my weaker queens, maybe jacks, 10s, and a 9. Whereas 8s, like, you don't get that much value. There's not a lot of EV in betting 8s here, so I would actually just check 8s.
Okay.
Let's just go to a solve.
Interesting.
So 60, button calls, queen 9-6. So we don't do a lot of betting here. It's 60% check, and that is, we are going to see a lot of just board texture shifts. We want to play a defense game. We don't want to be building big pots because, let's say we're betting pocket 10s on the turn, on the flop, like there's just no good runouts for 10s. So we're going to end up building pots and checking the turn or the river, and we're then going to be playing against the strong range because we bet twice and an uncapped range. Whereas once we check, we're kind of screwed, where we are capped and they can just pressure us, max pressure. So it's like build a pot that your hand is worth. And 8s is not worth a lot on this board. So just check call. If you bets again, just check fold. There's nothing wrong with that. And you see like the hands that we are betting, well, just use the big bets here. It's ace queen, king queen, kings and aces, queen 9, pocket 6s. Like, it's just designed for value, the big size, and then our strongest bluffs, which is going to be flush draws and jack 10. There's not really going to be too much outside of that. So general rule, if you want to bet big, you need a good hand out of position, good hand or high equity draw. And then small sizes, there is some small sizes out of position, don't get me wrong, but like you want to just be, the board texture needs to be much, much better for the opener. So king highs are generally very good for the opener out of position, so you can get a lot of small bets on them. 3 high cards like ace, king, queen, particularly when you're under the gun, very, very good. But there is a lot of checking out of position. You play a little bit more polarized, but the board texture will be a massive driver to that. And it's again, it's a little bit more of a complex topic than we can just cover in the last few minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, just is my hand worth big bet here? Ask yourself how big of a pot your hand's worth, and then you're going to be a little bit more on the right lines.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, I guess we wrap that there. You got any questions, or like if you think of any questions, just fire away on Discord.
Yeah, no, I'm sure I'll think of them afterwards, which is not normal.